Namaste and welcome, beloved mighty companions. Sending love to all of you from San Juan, Coastal Mexico. Who are just being lifted higher and higher into the celestial realms by Jesus. It's hilarious. So last night, gave me another hashtag. You know, we hadn't had a hashtag in a while because we have hashtag Supreme Happiness and hashtag I Hell. And so last night, he was talking to me about Google, you know, and how everybody uses Google. And he says, I'm the celestial Google. All the information you need to know. We'd rather go into Google than talk to Jesus sometimes, you know. And here we have the celestial Google. Any information you need to know is like, right there, right over there, right here, because our brother. And you see how, you know, when these terms that we've been using, like it takes a village, you know, and then you come in, you realize it takes a village to go straight up. You know, and that, you know, I used to be so worried, like, am I going to remember this, or actually I didn't ask for help because you know, would have to remember everything. I was thinking, I remember, you know, pretty much someone would talk to me and I just remember all of it. Now I don't remember much at all. I mean, I need help count money. Now, that may not be an advertisement for this, but I'll tell you it absolutely is, because you're so happy and it's not about counting the money. See, before it was like my money and push everybody away and never ask for help, and you know, because I could do it all. And now it's just, you see, it's not about anything other than the joining. Even if it seems like they're paper objects in your hands, like nothing's offensive, because joy is resonant. Joy is always resonant rather than the boot out of heaven. Just like, oh, there it is now. Hashtag boot out of heaven. So then this, as it was so beautifully expressed in the joining yesterday from the beings who came, they brought, you know, just brought that light right on how when they talk to Jesus, you know, it's gentle and it's loving and direct. You know, you hear the authority. We need that level of authority, Jesus said, yes. Because we're like being mamby-pamby about who we are. Being too tolerant of what we're not. So we have our brother to help us. And to hear him so clearly, oh, it was just so great. I think I must have had, you know, you start seeing, as Kelly said, we join all the time here. It's really helpful. And to join the beings from the outside or joining and just loving every, you see, it's like meeting the love of your life and seeing them every day. All day long. Because they're all Jesus, you know, they're all infinite. Part of yourself, it's reminding of infinite. God is in everything I see. So now we just keep following him and saying yes. And he just helps us with those little corrections and answers all the, I'll just check in with the Jesus school and think about it. If we talk to Jesus, even as much as we will put a question into Google. That would be a start. And who do we know, who has our best interests in mind? Jesus, do you have my best interest? And we can just keep giving things over to Jesus to handle. All we do is be who we are. Love ourselves for who we are, which is as God loves us. Infinite. Jesus says, I'll take mine infinite. Thank you. That's what we say. No, me, not the kind of mine. No one owns love. It's such a different from the idea of a personal identity, where love seems to fall off an edge or have an end to it. Can't get enough of it. I could see that too as the course, more and more, that it was like this hunger to be sitting at a table talking to someone and feeling predatory. Because I was starting to see how the mind goes out, it's shopping, the shopping mind. Like I mentioned that before too, of you walking down the street, it still happens on occasion too. I see it. But now we see it, we can catch it. That it's looking for something to buy. Looking around, always concerned, peering into shops along the way. Is there something else that I need? You start to catch those subtle and never walk. Then you start to realize, I'm in the play of consciousness. I have never walked down a street and just being. The play of consciousness is wanting. Supreme happiness is just being. It's not shopping for others. Hey, could you put my phone? There's a little quote Eric sent me. Yeah, maybe to read that. Thank you. So, yeah, can you see how you're mighties? Like Eric or someone will ask me a question, and I know that's my question to go to Google with. Jesus Google. Okay, Jesus, tell me is there anything for me to see on this? That gets to be the habit. Instead of no to God, it's like, tell me. Tell me one more time what I don't thank you. So much love. And yeah. So we're learning how to hit that Jesus button all day in the happiness and joy. Like I asked Jesus, is it an honor to speak your voice? And he says, yes. Because we're honoring ourselves as divine beings. That's to honor the Father, all that is, all that is. Let's see if I can find Eric's note. So much love. He's just turning me into a mush. A happy. But it's not of this world mush. It's celestial mush, rather than an object that's getting, as I've said, tossed around on the shores. Consciousness, just kind of like a piece of driftwood getting slammed by the waves. It's synonymous with the Father. see, is the light getting tossed around on a wave? Does the light know? Is it being tossed around in the turf? So we can just ask Jesus, Jesus, am I liking this getting tossed around in the turf? And he's teaching us to ride the waves. Beyond the waves, so far beyond. But first, if you learn, it's almost like instead of jumping on the train, like the train, the hell train, this is just as beings also express a reflection. This is just letting the release of the wanting, the natural, because it's not natural to our being to hold on to a wanting. What will life get me? Your life itself. We're life itself together. All that is. And I think it was Elliot, so profound. He starts talking. When our brother, like we were hearing, whoa, listen to that coming through. Listen to God coming through so deeply. Like your ear starts tuning into everything because you're listening for God in everything. It's all for me. God's just, Jesus is orchestrating everything for me. That's what we're hearing our brother talk about yesterday in that session. I think Irene said it. Oh my gosh, your brother just merges into the totality of happiness. I started to see that Jesus was orchestrating things in ways I could not know. So every sentence in that course just is alive in us. Because we're life. We call this. Jesus said, I call this for me out of the celestial realm. It can't come from this world. You can see this. Ask Jesus, can this world come be of this world? Speaking Jesus is not of this world. You can ask him, where's that coming from? Not of this world. So it's wonderful. I thank you if you happen to catch little typos in the book. We tried to catch them all, and sometimes it's on purpose to have a typo. I can't know. You know, I just ask Jesus at the time, is this page complete? I trust him totally. So he's asking about chapter 20. I'll just read the whole thing. You believe what you do or say has an effect on others. Let's just do this one. Have fun. Might as well. Thank you, Eric. You desire to miscreate an experience of feeling what you say or do has an effect on others. Wow. Okay, Jesus. Is there any desire below my level of awareness for an experience of feeling what I do or say affects someone? I'm willing to see that desire. This is a good one to see. All of them, every one of those you'll find in chapter 20. Since we know as the light of divine being, there's no one other out there, it seems like you're talking to another, and you see when there's no other to speak to. It's like, wait a minute, I'll be alone. No, you'll be one. You'll see that you're one. And so it's like you'll start to notice again that energy when I was sitting at the table, like trying to convince someone. That's the play, that there's someone out there to convince or influence. All these, you know, I went to Tony Robbins. I wanted to be a better speaker to influence people. You can't influence anyone. It's like, what? You see how much of our conversations are trying to influence somebody out there, I'm going to save the world. It's still part of salvation of the world. Hero of the dream. If it's a dream, when you wake up in the morning, you've had a dream, you don't go back and, if only I could have, convinced Joe about this. See, the convincing is always wanting it to be a different way than it is. This is a great talk. Thank you for me. So if there's any energy of trying to convince, you're just being yourself, speaking Jesus. That's why he gives us his voice, our voice, because it just speaks. And it's not trying to talk anybody into anything. Now, in the play of consciousness, in our function, it may seem that way, but you'll see there's a very big difference between divine expression, infinite love expressing as it is, in celebration of God with what comes out of our mouths, rather than, okay, I'm going to go out there and fix these people. Or see, there's still that subtle teacher-student thing, trying to teach something, rather than just be what is. See how the ego plays like that? It wants to talk to someone and tell them a story, and if they don't agree with it, then, well, the hell with them, which is to hell to us. Or, they don't listen to me, or it becomes a they, an other. He, she, it. As soon as it's a he, she, it, not doing something that I want, not looking out at a sunset and seeing exactly as I do, not remembering the same memory that I remember. You see how we would compare memories? In the play of consciousness, you can see it as soon as you watch that video that talks about quantum time. The cosmos. I think it's Into the Cosmos, is that its series? It talks about time. Professor Green. And you see the time, space-time. When he starts talking about space-time, so even someone standing 1 inch, it's just impossible to share. No one's sharing the same space-time. Even if you would call it that in the play of consciousness. Even if you don't believe there's a light or feel there's a light, you can look at that graph and just see there's no way. And then we're fighting over not having the same experience. Consciousness is set up to have a diversity of experiences. And then complain about something out there not having the same exact experience. There's only one that's actually beyond experience you can have that's identical. That's recognition of divinity, the light. See that everyone is light, the simplicity. I was joining with Teresa and she's saying, I need simplicity. And I go, boy, I really need simplicity. Jesus, that's the Jesus Google. That's as simple. The world's complicated, big fat maze. Ooh, that reminds me, we might watch The Maze Runner tonight. Oh, thank you, Jesus. So let's just look. Feeling has an effect on others, and thus feeling pleasure when they seem to respond. This is a good one. Jesus, do I get any pleasure as experience when someone seems to respond the way I want them to? Or any pain when they don't? See wanting. See the wanting in that? It's like intuitive. See, with these little lessons he's giving us, We go to intuition and have him tell us. You'll see the intuition of that itch for something, like the discontent when we're talking. It's like this little discontent. This is for me. I'm really appreciating this reminder. The little, any kind of discontent when you're talking to somebody who's wanting something rather than being everything. And everything becomes a happy discovery and happy dream. Thus, feeling pleasure when they seem to respond as you wish, or pain when they do not. See that little swinging door, the little hell door. That's why I feel anxious about joining. Boy, he knows how to give the lessons. This is about joining. So we make up little stories. This one won't, this one will, this one's good for me, this one's bad for me. This one I can get something from. This could be a potential client. This one can help me. This one won't help me. I'm going to go old and die because my children won't take care of me. So I'm going to cut them out of my will. Whatever it is, we think that something we do or say has an effect. See, I'll punish them by my will, however that looks. We're punishing ourselves. So this is what he underlined. There is only one, cause and effect are one. So let's just see in the light of divine being, if we do the light check, is there only one? In the light, is the light only know one? Divine being does not know another. Does the divine being know another? In our direct experience as light beings, or an effect on another? Does the divine light of divine being know anything about an other to affect? The divine being is just everything celebrating. It's not, I'm going to fix you, I'm going to save you, I'm a gonna. I need you to see my way. It's just divine expression. Whatever Jesus says, we just say it. Because that's the expression of infinite love. So we're just being infinite. That's a really profound thing to see. It helps that energy start falling away of wanting something, the discontent. The idea that there's something to get. So Jesus is helping us see that desire for other in the subtle ways that we box ourselves. Remember, we talk about stuffing ourselves into a shoebox to feel limited, for the desire to feel limited. You can ask him. So Jesus, when I'm trying to convince someone of something, see, there's no one out there to convince. Jesus, is there anyone out there to convince of anything? It's trying to convince ourselves that the ego is real. That changes every conversation. Being. And you're just two beings come together to celebrate being. That's all he's teaching us how to do in life. These little mini joinings. Be as you are, speak my voice, hear my voice. And as we build that relationship, we'll follow that voice. So all the resistance to joining is the belief that there is another. Rather than a celebration of wholeness. The ego will make it like, well, if I join with them, then I can't have this. The brother will tear heaven from me if I join with him. Anything to avoid the gift that a brother brings to us. He's teaching us the true meaning of holy relationship, which is holy relationship with God, with him, with this, but a holy relationship with him through our brother. Oh, beautiful. Lesson 352. Judgment and love are opposites. So whenever we have judgment, we'll feel torn away from love. It's a desire to tear ourselves away from infinite love, even when it's not possible in the light. We leave the court of God's higher court, peace, infinite being, to move next door to the little court of hell and judge ourselves. Jesus, in the light of divine being, do I desire an experience where I judge myself to be apart from the Father? Where I leave the higher court of God, of peace and joy and supreme happiness, wander off into the desert. As he says, the best thing to do in a desert is to leave it. But in this case, he's bringing us back to the higher court of God, of all that is. Judgment and love are opposites. Let's have him really show us that. Jesus, will you show me how judge really? And just not even know what love is. I have no idea what love is. And show me the heaviness and truth upon my heart and judgment. Because that's what we're duking Jesus out to keep. And say whatever we would say, fighting with him right now. See who you're fighting with. You're fighting with yourself. You can't fight with Jesus because there's no other. To have an opposite is to only be in opposition with ourselves. Come all the sorrows of the world. From one come all the one judgment, all the sorrows of the world, sorrows. You can ask him. So Jesus, if I have one judgment, because again, we'd be judging against ourselves as whole, holy, and complete, then there will be sorrow. It has to be so. Because the Father knows not judgment. It can't be known in the light of divine being. In the light of divine being, can it know? So it is the desire not to know the divine. Judgment is the desired experience not to know the divine as whole. But from the other comes the peace of God himself. From one come all the sorrows of the world. from the other, from peace, comes the peace of God Himself, without judgment. Forgiveness looks on sinlessness alone and judges not. To see no error. This is so helpful. Thank you, Jesus, for reminding me. Of seeing no error. The supreme happiness is seeing no error. You can ask Him, Jesus, the supreme happiness, seeing no error. See, the being doesn't know what error is. Through this I come to you. Forgiveness looks on sinlessness alone and judges not. That's why it's so helpful. If you see that your mind wanders or you feel the tension or the judgment, again, the cow gently goes back to the barn, to Jesus. That's it. Ask Him if He's asking for anything more than that. Gently back into the barn and sit by me. Ask Him. Jesus, I seem to have booted myself out of heaven right there. Will you help me? So it's very simple, no kerfuffling, or what do I do, or what have I done, or that's why the ego cannot be, that's why Jesus is the atonement. Because we see as soon as, oh, and this is what I did, and then we start to tell a story about what happened, and this is why, and this is what I'm in suffering for. And we really need that focus He's giving in chapter 20 to go immediately to ask Him. You see how He's training us to go to light training? So we can bypass, okay, so what? I was upset, I was screaming, I was pounding my head on the pavement. I wanted to say no to Jesus. We don't have to even tell a story about that. We can just say, show me the desire. Do you see how quickly He's making this? Whatever went before 1 second of no interest. See that He's not keeping the logbook. I said I would talk about Elf on the Shelf. It is Christmas after all. So let's talk about Elf on the Shelf. So Elf on the Shelf is this little elf. If you haven't seen this or you don't have children, I don't have children. But I know Elf on the Shelf because many beings feel this is a part of Christmas. It's really like putting Satan on the shelf. Because it's the elf on the shelf. When you put him on the shelf, and he's to watch over children to see if children are going to behave, because he's going to report to Santa Claus and they won't get any gifts. So it's a symbol of lack of innocence. It's a belief in lack of innocence. I'm going to get a little Jesus on the shelf for Christmas. We're going to have those to give out somehow. I don't know how that's going to happen. I'm asking Jesus. He says, yes. You put Jesus on the shelf for Christmas and see, judge not. And teach our children, because we're teaching ourselves, judge not. That God nor Santa Claus, thankfully He's telling Santa Claus, which isn't a real character. It's the perfect expression of the ego. It isn't a real character that He's reporting to. But Jesus on the shelf that sees no error. It seems like a really cute idea. And everything's innocence. God's in everything I see. It's discernment with how we're placing our beliefs in a limited world, a reflection of our beliefs in a limited world on the shelf, and communicating that. You see how that can't come from the divine. It's not divine expression. Divine expression is innocence. The baby laid in the manger. except in Jesus's case, he's the resurrection. And it's hard to get, you can't get a little thing like that. I found a nice little picture, though, where the stone rolls back. It's just the symbol of innocence, the birth, the rebirth of innocence, of the recognition of innocence. For what can never die. The light that's carried with us, the shining star, is the light that we bear, continually shining, that will bring kings to their feet and to their knees, to their head on the floor. The kings, the three kings, come and bow to the light, the symbol that no kingdom of earth stands above the Father. That even kings are subjugated to the one that has dominion over all you, love, as love has dominion. Just ask Jesus, does love have dominion over all things? Forgiveness looks on sinlessness alone and judges not. Through this I come to you. Through forgiveness we come to him. Do I come to you, Jesus, through forgiveness? Yes. He's reminding me when we speak his voice, we're acknowledging that we carry the power of God. Because it's acceptance of divinity to speak this voice and follow this voice, or acknowledging supreme power. Not in the ways of this world, not power over anything. Doesn't need to be powerful over anything. And you see that same authority that he speaks to you with, he's saying, yes. You'll see you already carry that authority with you. So we're no longer in the mamby-pamby unhelpless. It's benevolent. It's a benevolence. See how Jesus speaks to you? That's how you speak in the world. Wholeness, from wholeness, as all that is. Forgiveness looks on sinlessness alone and judges not. Through this I come to you. Through forgiveness I come to you. Judgment will bind my eyes and make me blind. And we can ask him, Jesus, was there a desire below my level of awareness to be blind to who I am? Will you help me see? Amazing grace. I was blind, but now I see. Infinite only. Yet love, reflected in forgiveness here, reminds you, me, you have given me a way to find your peace again, to find myself, to cease to deny myself. The authority of the Father walks with me. You have not left me comfortless. I am redeemed when I elect to follow in this way. Jesus, am I redeemed when I elect to follow you in this way? It's the only way to see you are already redeemed, he says. Yes. Following me is the only way to see that you're already redeemed. Otherwise, you're following the other one, the serpent. The desired experience. Lay the serpent to rest. Elf on the shelf can go. See, the divine being judges not. The light does not judge. This is not natural to you. See that this is not natural to you. Jesus, is judgment, the desire for judgment, natural to me? It says you in truth don't know what judgment is. You have to dream it. You have to dream as though you can judge. Is that part of the dream? He said that's why it's not a very happy dream. We're just starting to see how desperately unhappy, pretending to be happy, but never really happy, because we had desired to have a plan in which we couldn't remember happiness, and we need to be taught from the ground up to be untaught, as he says. We're unlearning what we thought was happiness. You have not left me comfortless. He says, know that I have not left you comfortless. See in the light. Is the light without comfort? Does the light know uncomfort? This is the light test, the only test worth taking, the light test. Am I the light, Jesus? And ask him that 1,000 times a day. The only thing that separates you, seemingly, nothing separates you, but they're in the dream and the idea of a person. That's unforgiveness, the idea of a person. The concept is unforgiveness. In forgiveness here reminds me you have given me a way to find your peace again. I am redeemed when I elect to follow in this way. You have not left me comfortless. I have within me both the memory of you and one who leads me to it. Jesus, Google. Father, I would hear your voice and find your peace today. Jesus is all for peace through your voice. In our direct experience as light beings. And can it be another way? Is there any other way to peace than through your voice? And hear the answer. Kind of ends the argument. I'm not listening to you that way. I'm going to use Google instead. For I would love my own identity and find it in the memory of you. I would love the light, loves you back. Not you as a person, it's just shining. It's loving what's already here, infinite light. And just ceasing to dabble in darkness, which doesn't do anything. Ask Jesus, does darkness do anything whatsoever? Am I impacted by darkness whatsoever? Is any form, shape of fear that I've ever had impacted me in any way? Happily, no. Happily, no. No darkness stands before the Son of God. In truth, no veil can bind him from his Father unless he desires the experience to be bound. Yet see that the light is boundless. It's just the interpretive functioning within consciousness in the play to interpret ourselves as bound by concepts and ideas that then consciousness can interpret as sin. You just sinned. And thus you're cast into hell. It's a desired experience. Is darkness a desired experience? It's desire to have a fight with God about our identity. Yet all wars cease when the weapons are laid down. Just merely lay them down and see they never happened. That's so beautiful. Simply lay them down. He says you have no need for those now. No need. Welcome to innocence. Amen.